Alright, so we're going to go over some examples how to identify transformation with the given functions here. In our first example, we have f of x equals 4, that's our base, to the power of x minus 7, then plus 3. Our second example would be g of x equals 9, that's our base, to the power of x plus 2, and then minus 5. So just like in the video, if there's a number with the x as the exponent, so here, since it's minus 7, that means that, again, if there's a number with the x, it's either going to the left or to the right. Since this is minus 7, it's going to go to the right 7. Now, since we have the number with the 7 to the right, the plus 3, since it's not with the x, it's after the x, it means that it's either going up or going down. So, since this is a plus 3, it's a positive 3, so it's going to go up 3. Now that's pretty much for all the transformation. We don't have to worry about the base because it's just a base. You're just identifying where the graph is moving. So again, since it's x minus 7, that means that it moved right 7 units, and then plus 3, it moved up 3 units. Now if we talk about the second example, 9 to the power of x plus 2, and then minus 5. So again, there's a number with the x, so it's going to go left or right. Since it's plus 2, it's going to go to the left 2 units. Now the minus 5 is after the x, and it's opposite to the first example. So plus 3 was up 3. Since it's minus 5, it's going to go down 5 units. So those are the two transformations for the second example. Alright, in example 3 we have h of x equals 6 to the power of x plus 1 and then plus 2. So if we were to look at this example, we see that on the x, it's x plus 1. So it has a number with the x, so that means it's either left or right. Since it's plus 1 with the x, it means that it's going to go to the left 1 unit. Now, our second number, not the 6, that's our base. Our second number is the plus 2. It's after the x, so it's either up or down. In this case, since it's plus 2, it's going to go up 2 units. And that's pretty much the transformation for example 3. X plus 1, that's left 1 unit, and then plus 2. The plus 2 is after the x, so it's up 2 units. Example 4 is m of x equals 3 to the power of x minus 8, and then minus 4. So here we see that it's at x minus 8, so it's either going left or right. Taking a closer look, it's a minus 8, so it's going to the right 8 units. And then after the minus 8, or should I say x minus 8, we see it's a minus 4. So again, when you have another number after the x, it's either up or down. In this case, a minus 4, it means that it went down, shifted down 4 units. So that's pretty much the transformation for the fourth example. Right 8 units because x minus 8, and then it went down 4 units because of that minus 4. So again, that's pretty much the transformation for translation, up, down, left, right. Alright, what we're going to talk about is what happens when there's a negative on the x. So we have our example 5, it has 2 to the power of negative of x plus 10 and then minus 6. So there's a negative in front of the x here. Example 6, the base 7 is to the power of negative of x minus 3 and then plus 16. we see that there's a negative in front of x. So these two both have a negative in front of x. Now, just like in the lesson video about transformation, when there's a negative in front of the x, it's most likely going to be reflection over the y-axis. So, just like in 1.5, when there's a negative on the x in front of the x, it's going to be a reflection, reflected reflect over y-axis. Now, continue with example 5. I decided to add in the translation transformation just like from example 1 through 4. Now, it's pretty much the same. The only difference was just a reflection. Now, we have a x plus 10. So inside the parenthesis, since it's x plus 10, that plus 10 meaning that left or right. Now plus 10 meaning that it's going to go to the left 10 units. Now the minus 6 is after the x. So again, a number after the x is either up or down. So since it's minus 6, it went down 6 units. And that's pretty much the transformation for example 5. Now the only difference from the first 4 was that there was a negative in front of the x. Now if I were to do the same process for example 6, again, there's a negative in front of the x. So it's the same transformation. Reflect over y-axis. And that's pretty much it for reflection. Now if we were to focus on the x inside the parenthesis, we see it's x minus 3. So again, with the x, left or right. Since it's minus 3, it means that it's going to go to the right 3 units. And that's pretty much it. Now we have another number, the plus 16. The plus 16 is after the x. So again, a number after the x, up or down. So since it's plus, it means it's up 16 units. And that's all the transformation for example 6. These two right here are the translation. Right 3, minus 3. Up 16, plus 16. And then again, since there's a negative in front of x, reflect over y-axis. Alright, just like the last two examples, we're going to talk about reflection. Now, in example 7, we have h of x equals negative 5, that's our base, to the power of x minus 11, and then minus 7. Now, what's different from example 5 and 6 and example 7 is that in this one, we have a negative in front of the base, meaning negative in front of the function. So, if we have a negative in front of the function, if we were to compare it with the lesson video, we know that it's going to be a reflection. Now, example 5 and 6, the negative was on the x, that was reflected over a y-axis. Now, if there's a negative in front of the base, a negative in front of the function, it's going to be reflected over the other axis, which is the x-axis. So, reflect over x-axis. Now, we're not done here because we still have two more transformations. If we take a closer look, we see that it's an x minus 8. Again, there's no negative on the x, so it's no reflection over the y-axis. Again, no negative on the x, no reflection on the y-axis. But it's just purely x minus 11. Again, so since it's x minus 11, that means that it's going to go to the right 11 units. So right 11 units. And then one more, that minus 7 is after the x. So that means it went down 7 units. And that's pretty much all the transformation for example 7. A negative on the base or a negative in front of the function reflect over x-axis. And then x minus 11, right 11 units. And then after the x, minus 7, down 7 units. Moving on to example 8, p of x equals negative 8, that's our base, to the power of x plus 12 and then plus 3. So just like example 7, there's a negative on the base, or also known as negative in front of the function. It's going to be a reflect over x-axis. Again, the negative is on the base, or in front of the function. So reflect over the x-axis. If we were to focus on x plus 12, so again, x plus 12, that means that the plus 12 is left 12 units. So again, x plus 12 means 12 units to the left. Now our last one, the plus 3, is after the x. So the plus 3 means up 3 units. And that's pretty much all the transformation for example 8. The minus 8, the negative in front of the base, reflect over x-axis. X plus 12 means left 12 units, and then the plus 3 afterwards, up 3 units.